You know what always seems to be more exciting than what you're reading right now? What you're going to read next month. So let's take a look for what I got planned. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another TBR video, this one for February of 2023. So in case you guys missed it last month, I am now taking these monthly due to viewer request. I used to do them quarterly. Now I'm doing them monthly, but the catch here is that I will be talking about each book a little more in depth, even if I don't know anything about it. Now, I do want to give you a warning up front. I will be reading the back cover, as it were, you know, the dust jacket, the sales pitch, the elevator pitch for each of these books are, and some of them are sequel books. So if you haven't read the first book, I'm just warning you, I'm not going to try to spoil anything for you. I've proofread them to a point where I don't feel like they would spoil anything for you. I just don't want anyone getting upset about it if it is kind of spoiling something for you. So there you have been warned. Now, these are in the order that I plan to read them for this month. So if you want to read along, you know what order in the queue they are going to be for me. But yeah, these are the 5 that are on the schedule. And I did take one that I had planned off. If you guys do know, I was reading Lancelot by Giles Christian. It was good, but it wasn't enough to where I said I need to read Camelot right away. So I removed Camelot from my February TBR. So there's a new entrant. So everybody who thinks they've got this whole thing figured out, I think there might be a surprise or two for you. So let's go ahead and kick it off, guys. February 1st, we are going to be continuing our Red Rising read-along with book number 2. This is Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, a series I absolutely adore. I'm going to continue to do major discussions and re-reviews for these books, and I'll be doing my first-time reviews for Iron Gold and Dark Age, but this month we are continuing with Golden Age. I've been overwhelmed with the reception to book number 1 in our read-along from first-time readers that are really just getting into the series. They've really liked book 1, and I keep telling them, guys, you have no idea what is coming for you in Golden Sun. But if you haven't read yet, do you want to know what it is about? Well, this book is about Darrow. Now, as a Red, Darrow grew up working the mines deep beneath the surface of Mars, enduring backbreaking labor while dreaming of a better future he was building for his descendants. But the society he faithfully served was built on lies, and Darrow's kind had been betrayed and denied by their elitist masters, the Golds, and their only path to liberation is a revolution. And so Darrow sacrifices himself in the name of a greater good. He becomes a Gold, infiltrating their privileged realm so he can destroy it from within. A lamb among wolves in a cruel world, Darrow finds friendship, respect, and even love, but also the wrath of powerful rivals. To wage and win the war that will change humankind's destiny, Darrow must confide in the treachery arrayed against him, overcome his all-too-human desire for retribution, and strive not for violent revolt, but for a hopeful rebirth. Though the road ahead is fraught with danger and deceit, Darrow must choose to follow Eo's principles of love and justice to free his people. He must live for more. And guys, that's about as vague as it can get with a book like Golden Sun. It's one of those where I said it is completely night and day different from book number 1, not only in writing style, but in just how the story just completely just takes off like a rocket from here, and it never really has let up for me. So I'm hoping that you guys that have joined the read-along will continue with me and do continue to enjoy it, because like I said, in my memory, book number 2 completely blew me away, and it was my favorite on that first read. So I'm very much looking forward to rereading that one. Next up, guys, if you don't know, we're starting the month off kind of golden here, because I got Golden Sun, and now I got Golden Fool by Ms. Robin Hobb. Now, I did read A Fool's Errand last month, and I loved it. I thought it was my favorite book in the realm of the Eldlings yet. So I'm anxious to continue with that, but that book was quite a kick in the let's just say the sore regions, the nether regions. It was a place that it didn't feel very good, and it was one of those where I'm glad I had a little time to recover before I get into Golden Fool here. But I'm very, very excited to continue with that. I was warned, do not read the back covers of these books because they spoil things that haven't happened yet. So guys, I'm not going to be reading that, but I did get a nice spoiler-free synopsis from people who have read the series, and they thought they would give me a good way to use something for this video. So let's talk about that now. What is Golden Fool about? Now, Prince Dutiful has returned to Buckkeep, and the court has resumed its normal rhythms. There, Fitz Chivalry Farseer must take up residence at Buckkeep as a journeyman assassin, guiding a kingdom straying closer to civil strife each day. Amid a multitude of problems, Fitz must ensure that no one betrays the prince's secret, one that could topple the throne. Only Fitz's friendship with the Fool brings him solace. but even that is questioned when devastating revelations from the Fool's past are exposed. Bereft of support and adrift in a tree, Fitz finds that his biggest challenge may be simply to survive. And yes, guys, I'm very excited to see where the series goes after the events of Fool's Errand, because I am kind of lost in the wilderness right now, have no idea what she's going to do next, but I'm excited to see, because I do think there are some characters from Farseer that didn't quite show up in Fool's Errand that I'm kind of waiting to see if they show back up in this book. So I'm excited to see where she takes Fitz on this journey after the events of Fool's Errand, because I feel like it's going to be a whole new ball game for him going forward, and I am here for it. I hope it can. It's got some big shoes to fill, but I'm excited to do it. So I like to break up the big epic fantasy reads with some standalones and palette cleansers. What I'm doing this year, I want to kind of do one standalone book per month, and the one that has been recommended to me just so much from my Discord, or the author rather, has been Frederick Backman. And I've been told that the best place to start with him is a man called Uva. I believe it's Uva. I know if I'm saying that wrong, someone in the comments is going to let me know. I said O forever, but everybody's been telling me it is Uva. So I am saying Uva. Now, that's just a fun word to say. The man called Uva. I know it's so confusing that the movie that just came out in the States, the American version, they changed it to a man called Otto. So that's what's interesting, that you think that Americans are so stupid they can't figure this out. Maybe you're right. I don't know, because maybe I just said it wrong 15 times. Anyway, so Frederick Backman, author I really had never heard of before people on my Discord started getting really into him. And the reason that people have been recommended to me so much on there is because they claim this character work is very reminiscent of Stephen King. Now, obviously, that's a good way to get my attention. It also might be a cheat code to get me to try something that might be outside of my comfort zone like this. But with the man called Uva, I've been told that his character relationships are really great. And you know what? Hey, I'm not above it. I love to try new things. So I'll be checking that one out. As for what is a man called Uva about, well, meet Uva. He's a curmudgeon, the kind of man who points at people he dislikes as if they were burglars caught outside his bedroom window. He has staunch principles, strict routines, and a short fuse. People call him the bitter neighbor from hell. But must Uva be bitter just because he doesn't walk around with a smile plastered to his face all the time? Behind the cranky exterior, there's a story and a sadness. So on one November morning, a chatty young couple with two chatty young daughters move in next door. It is a lead-in to a comical and heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unexpected friendship, and the ancient art of backing up a U-Haul. All of which will change one cranky old man and a local residents association to their very foundation. So, interesting premise. The closer I get to old man shakes fists at cloud age, I can relate to this. You know, does it really mean that you're grumpy just because you don't want to chit chat with your neighbors? I get that. I get that completely. I live in the suburbs, and trust me, some days I just want to go get my mail. I don't want to hear about what your kids are doing. I don't want to talk about what my kids are doing. You know, I get this. I get this. So I think it might be a little more in my comfort zone than I thought. But we'll find out. I've heard mostly great things, but some other people I know have been like, no, it wasn't really for me. Like I was watching Josh over at Red Fury. I was watching his live stream over the weekend, and he just was like, no, absolutely not with Frederick Backman. So I don't think it's like just praise or whatever, but you know, I've had so many people on my Discord, a lot of my moderators, Scott the Bald Booktuber, Madison Goodyear, they just can't stop. And then of course one of my patrons, Chris, who sent me this book. So I have nothing but high expectations for it. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we are going to find out. I'll be reading that one in between those two big epic fantasy reads here. Now the next one, guys, I don't have a physical one to show you because I haven't made the elite of the elite yet when it comes to Richard Swann's friends. I'm not in that secret society. I'm not in that 1% that gets physical ARC copies yet. So I did get an ARC copy of Tyranny of Faith much later than we had both anticipated. So I got it on Kindle. And the thing was, my schedule was full and I didn't have time to read it. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to read it in February when it does release, because I think that will be a lot of fun. So Tyranny of Faith, I love. This is Empire of the Wolf #2. In case you don't know, I love Justice of Kings. Reviewed it on the channel. Thought it was very, very fresh and unique. Pretty much, I'd say 99% of people that I have encouraged to read it have really liked it. There is the one, random one who will say they didn't, and that's fine. It doesn't have to work for everybody. But they have a very high success rate with that book. So from what I'm hearing from other people who finished the review copies already, they're saying it is even better than the first one. So hopefully no middle book syndrome here. But I'm excited to continue. But what is Tyranny of Faith about? Now, a justice's work is never done. The Battle of Galen's Vale is over, but the war for the Empire's future has just begun. Concerned by rumors that the Magisterium's authority is waning, Sir Conrad von Volt returns to Sova to find the capital city gripped by intrigue and whispers of rebellion. In the Senate, patricians speak openly against the Emperor, while fanatics preach holy vengeance on the streets. Yet facing down these threats to the throne will have to wait, for the Emperor's grandson has been kidnapped, and von Volt is charged with rescuing the missing prince. His quest will lead him, and his allies Helena, Bressinger, and Sir Radomir, to the southern frontier, where they will once again face the puritanical fury of Bartholomew Claver and his Templar Knights, and a dark power more terrifying than they ever could have imagined. So guys, very exciting premise. It sounds like it's just going to be another thrill ride. I mean, the first one I was like, you had like a big mystery, and I like that a lot. This sounds like we might be doing, a rescue mission. I'm always there for a rescue or a heist or a prison break or something. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. So I'm interested to see how he continues to expand that world, because I do really like a lot of the little tweaks and stuff that he does to that stories. Guys, if you haven't read Justice of Kings yet, do it. I think you'll have a great, great time with it. It's not a really heavy read either, so you'll be able to get through it really, really quick. And I don't know, but I've been told that the audiobook is pretty good. So if that is something that you're into, maybe look into that. So, like I said, I have an opening on the schedule now that I'm not going to be doing Camelot this month. So what is that going to be? Now, you guys know, just like everyone out there, I am influenced by Petrick's recommendations, and one that Petrick has been recommending to me for, God, I think since it came out. I mean, I think this is back when we just actually talked to each other on Goodreads once in a while. Before I think really either of us had a big channel or anything yet, and it was a brand new book. It wasn't even out yet, but he recommended The Last War We Are the Dead. The series is The Last War by Mike Shackle. He said he knows how much I dig Joe Abercrombie, and he thinks that this is going to be one that I absolutely adore. And it isn't one of those things where I feel, like I said earlier, it's kind of a cheat code. Because I know that Petrick does sometimes say, oh, it's like Joe Abercrombie, and that means I'll be okay, I'll read it. But this one, I've heard that from a lot of people. I think even Mark Lawrence was really making that big comparison to Joe Abercrombie with this. But Mike is an awesome guy. He actually sent me this first book, and I lost it for a while. It was really, really funny how I lost this book. And the whole thing was, it was on my shelves the whole time. I found it. If you saw my bookshelf tour, I found it on my shelf while I was doing that bookshelf tour live. I had been looking for it forever, and I think it just blended in to the book that it was next to. It was those Melissa McPhail books, and they have a similar spine. So I think I just assumed it was one of those, but this series, I've heard really, really great things about. I think Ed and Will Gwynn over at the Brothers Gwynn, they really like it a lot too. I think they've even had Mike on the channel. But I'm excited to do it. But will you be excited for it? Let's find out. Let's talk about what it's about here with The War is Over. The enemy won. Gia's people learned the hard way that there are no second chances. The Egril, their ancient enemy, struck with magic so devastating that Gia's armies were wiped out. Now terror reigns in the streets, and friend turns on friend just to live another day. Somehow Tinstra, a deserter, a failure, nothing but a coward, survived. She was no more than to hide from the chaos, but dragged into a desperate plot to retake Gia, surrounded by people willing to do anything to win the fight. This time Tinstra will need to do more than hide. If Gia is to get a second chance after all, this time she will need to be a hero. So I know that this book has like 5 POVs, and it's one of those things where you're getting this whole perspective, the aftermath of a war. So I think like the city is like occupied, and these were the people on the side that lost. Their city is occupied, and they're trying to survive through it. And it's telling from 5 different points of view, and eventually there's a convergence. And apparently the convergence is really, really well plotted and well done. And that sounds really, really great. Usually you're on the side where, okay, the siege is coming. This is, hey, the siege came, they lost. This is the events, the aftermath of what happens after you've lost the war. So that sounds like a really, really neat plot to me. So I'm excited to do it. That should be one that I probably end up flying through. Even though it looks like a pretty beefy book, I've heard you can fly through this really, really quick. And if it is anything like Joe Abercrombie characters, then I think I will be definitely picking up the sequels going forward. So that was always a plan, was to read that this year. It just got moved up a little bit once I had that opening in the schedule. Been putting it off for like 2 years, and I wanted to make sure I didn't do it any longer. So that's my 5, guys. But there are some things, if I do have some extra time, what am I going to do if time allows? Say I finish all those books like I did this month, and I had all sorts of extra time because I read that Robin Hobb book in like 3 days, and I scheduled 10, so that can happen sometimes. So if I have some openings, obviously, I want to continue with Drizzt. The Legacy of the Drow is the next series for me. Really, really am enjoying Drizzt. I've talked about it numerous times on the channel at this point. You guys know that I am liking Drizzt. So that is basically my Dresden Files replacement, and that's what I'm going to read when I've got extra time. I need a break from big epic fantasy because all these books, guys, 350 pages or less, no bloat. They're just straight sugar, and they're so much fun. I have so much fun with them. So that would be the first thing that I would continue with. Also, if you don't know, right now, I am reading Time and Contempt. That is finally continuing The Witcher. I took a break about 2+ years ago, and I won't lie, those new covers did actually say, hey, you know what, I should pick up The Witcher again. But I did that poll on the channel, and audience really wants to see me finish The Witcher. So say I really do like Time and Contempt. I think the next up would be to start the next book, which is Baptism of Fire. So that is something I think could be a lot of fun. But again, this is going to be a series, guys, I'm not going to rush. Obviously, I started reading it back in 2019, and if I'm going to be picking it back up now, I think it's obviously nothing that's like a rush for me. But I would like to complete it because the thing was, I'm not one of those people. I know like a lot of BookTube hates. They just hate that series. For me, it wasn't that I hate the series. I just wasn't liking where Time and Contempt was going. I didn't like that Geralt was basically becoming like a background character, and I didn't like some of the events that were going on. So I just kind of got bored and said, you know what, I'm not going to force it or I'll end up hate reading it. So I said, I'll always come back to it, and I am. So I have no problem telling you guys when I'm going to quit a series. I've made videos about how I was going to quit series, and The Witcher wasn't one of them. That was a maybe. Turns out I'm not going to quit this one. So I'm going to try to continue it. Don't know if I'm going to finish it, like I said. But I do plan to at least finish Time of Contempt and see where I stand after that. And if I like it, Baptism of Fire would be one in February that I pick up if extra time does allow. And lastly, guys, this is a short one. One of my classics that I want to read, this one was on there. And you would think it seems like it was made for me because it is a coming-of-age story in like the 1960s about, teenage boys. That sounds like exactly my wheelhouse. That's the story that I love, right? Well, I already mentioned Madison, but she actually was talking about The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton the other day. And she basically gave me like a 30-minute speech about why I need to read this right now. And I told her it'd be really rude to bump that ahead of all the standalones and palate cleansers I already named. But the fact that it's like 250 pages is really, really short. And I was like, okay, I think I can probably fit that one in just, because I feel like there's that time where I will completely melt someone's ear off about this book that I read. It's just so amazing, and I want to share that with somebody. So she's so high on this book and says it's just absolutely amazing. She said, basically, like she said, she feels like it was written for me. Okay, that's a pretty good sales job. I'm going to check it out. She made lots of Stephen King comparisons, obviously like Stand By Me and It, and that sounds really, really awesome. I've never seen the movie either, guys, and I know that's like really weird for someone from my generation. Never saw the movie, never read the book. It was one of those where we had to choose between several different books in high school. That was one of them, and I chose To Kill a Mockingbird. And I don't regret that. But that's why I just never got to it. But hey, this is cool. I do want to make sure that I am getting some classics in now and then. She's already influenced me to join in a Gone with the Wind reread later this year. So I said, hey, why not? I can add 2 classics this year, and that will be it sometime. If it doesn't happen in February, it'll probably happen this year. So guys, that's everything I've got planned for February. Sounds like it should be a fun month. It is the shortest month of the year. So if not all this stuff gets done in the month of February, I wouldn't be shocked. But a lot can happen in 4 weeks. You never know. Just depends if I hit a wall on any of these books like I did with a particular book this month. But you know what? These things can happen, and they can happen to anybody, and a reading slump can happen at any time. So you always like to prepare ahead for that. So I'm just trying to keep myself to 4 or 5 books per month now, and then these are the things I want to do if I have extra time. But guys, what about you? I'm interested in what you plan to read in February. Are you going to read any of these with me? What do you got on your TBR? Why don't you drop in the comments and let me know, guys, and I will talk to you there.